When I started college, I thought I was finally leaving behind the small-town drama I had grown up with. But little did I know, the worst betrayal of my life wasn't waiting for me back home, it was waiting for me right on campus. My name is Emily, I was 19 when this happened, and I had just begun my sophomore year. I wasn't the smartest in every subject, but I had always worked hard, and in order to keep my scholarship, I needed help in a few of the tougher classes. That's when I got introduced to my new TA, a graduate student named Mark. He was only in his mid-20s, sharp, confident, and the type of person who had this natural authority about him. He wasn't overly friendly, not flirty either, just professional and smart, but you could feel everyone in the class admired him. At the same time, my best friend Sarah had been my rock since high school. We applied to the same college and ended up in the same dorm. She was the bold one, the kind of girl who loved being in the spotlight, always with a story to tell, while I was more quiet and cautious. Our friendship worked because she pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I grounded her when things got too wild. We had this unspoken rule that nothing and no one could ever come between us, not boys, not parties, not jealousy. At least, that's what I believed. The semester started heavy, and I quickly realized Mark wasn't just any TA, he was tough. He demanded participation, corrected people bluntly, and when I got my first assignment back, the grade was way lower than I expected. I panicked. My GPA couldn't afford this. I swallowed my pride and went to his office hours, expecting to be brushed off. Instead, he took the time to explain where I went wrong, in detail, and though he was strict, there was something about the way he looked at me that made me feel like he believed I could do better. I left that office feeling relieved, even encouraged. Sarah, of course, noticed right away. "So what's he like? Is he hot?" she teased, nudging me in the ribs when I told her I had gone to see him. I laughed it off, insisting he was just serious about teaching, but Sarah's curiosity didn't fade. She liked testing boundaries, poking fun, and the more I said I needed to focus on my grades, the more she teased me about the hot TA. It was harmless, at least I thought so. A few weeks later, Sarah showed up late to meet me at the cafeteria. Her hair was messy, her lipstick smudged, and she had that mischievous look she always carried when she had a secret. She leaned in and whispered, "You'll never guess who I ran into last night." My stomach tightened for reasons I couldn't explain, but before I could answer, she smirked and said, "Your TA, Mark." She claimed it was coincidence, that she saw him at a party off campus, that they talked casually. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just Sarah being Sarah, exaggerating. But the next time I walked into section, I caught him glancing toward me, then quickly looking away, and for the first time I wondered if Sarah wasn't exaggerating after all. That tiny seed of doubt planted itself in my mind, but I told myself not to overthink. Sarah was my best friend. Mark was my TA. Lines weren't supposed to be crossed. Still, something felt off, and I couldn't shake it. The weeks that followed felt like walking on thin ice, but I tried to ignore the nagging feeling that Sarah wasn't telling me the full truth. She had a habit of dropping vague hints, then laughing when I tried to press her for details. Like one night, we were sitting in our dorm room doing face masks, and she suddenly blurted, "So, how do you think Mark is outside of class?" I froze, pretending not to catch her tone. I shrugged and said, "I don't know, probably the same as he is inside of class." "Why?" She smirked and said, "Oh, no reason. Just curious." Then she quickly changed the subject. That same week, I noticed her texting more than usual, hiding her phone whenever I walked in, even leaving the room to take calls. At first, I assumed she had just met some random guy. She always had someone new around, someone she was testing out before discarding when she got bored. But then I noticed a name on her phone screen one morning when her alarm went off, M. That single letter made my heart sink. I tried to rationalize it. Lots of names started with M. Maybe it was Mike, the guy she had been hanging out with from the soccer team. But when I asked her about Mike casually, she rolled her eyes and said she wasn't interested in him at all. That didn't add up. Meanwhile, in class, I started picking up on small things that made me question everything. Mark had always been professional, but now, whenever Sarah came up in conversation between us, he seemed uneasy, like his expression hardened for a split second before he caught himself. One day, I asked him to clarify part of the assignment, and as he leaned over to show me something, I noticed he smelled faintly of Sarah's perfume. It was so distinct, sweet and floral, the one she always drenched herself in before going out. I wanted to convince myself I was imagining it, but my gut told me otherwise. Then came the night everything exploded. Sarah convinced me to go out with her to a party, saying I needed to loosen up. I reluctantly agreed, figuring it would be harmless. The music was loud, people were everywhere, and I lost Sarah almost immediately in the crowd. About an hour later, I went upstairs looking for her, hoping we could leave. That's when I saw it, Sarah, in a corner bedroom, with none other than Mark. They weren't just talking. They weren't even trying to hide it. His hands were on her, her lips on his, like they had done this before. My chest went hollow. I couldn't breathe. I turned away before they noticed me and ran out of the house. My phone buzzed minutes later, Sarah asking where I was. I didn't answer. The betrayal stung in ways I couldn't put into words. It wasn't just that she had kissed him, it was that she had gone after the one person she knew I relied on, the one person I respected and needed for my academic future. I felt like a fool. Back in my dorm, I sat staring at the ceiling, waiting for Sarah to come back. When she finally stumbled in, hair messy and lips swollen, she didn't even look guilty. Instead, she smiled nervously and said, "So. I guess you saw." My hands shook. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. Her smirk dropped, and for the first time, she looked serious. "A while," she admitted. "But it's not what you think." My voice cracked. "You slept with my TA." "My TA, Sarah. You knew how much this class means to me." She tried to explain that it wasn't about me, that she and Mark had chemistry, that it just happened. But every word out of her mouth felt like another knife in my back. I wanted to scream, to throw her out, but I was too stunned to move. She finally whispered, "Please don't tell anyone. He could get in serious trouble. Just, let this stay between us." That was the moment I realized she wasn't sorry. She wasn't worried about me, or my feelings, or how this would affect my future. She was worried about protecting herself and him. And that realization burned hotter than anything else. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling while Sarah snored in the bed across the room like nothing had happened. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together again, her hands on him, his lips on hers, and my stomach twisted with nausea. By the time morning came, I felt like my entire friendship had collapsed into ashes, and the worst part was that I had no idea what to do next. Should I confront Mark? Should I report him? Should I cut Sarah off completely? The weight of silence pressed down on me so hard that I felt like I was suffocating. At breakfast, Sarah acted normal, chatting about classes and gossiping about people we knew. She didn't bring up Mark once, almost as if she was daring me to break the silence. I couldn't stomach it. I grabbed my bag and left mid-sentence, and that was when she finally texted me, "Please don't be mad. You don't understand. I care about him." Those words shattered me in ways I didn't expect. Care about him? Was she serious? She had known him for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months at most, and she was already justifying destroying our friendship for him. That night, I decided I couldn't let this go unspoken. I went to Mark's office hours, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. He looked surprised to see me, but before he could say anything, I blurted, "I know about you and Sarah." His expression shifted instantly, from calm authority to a flash of panic. Then he composed himself and said, "Emily, let's not jump to conclusions." I almost laughed. Jump to conclusions? I saw you two at the party. Don't lie to me. He sighed and rubbed his temples like I was the one causing him trouble. Look, what happened between Sarah and me has nothing to do with you. I've kept things professional in class, haven't I? That response told me everything. He didn't deny it. He didn't apologize. He just wanted me to stay quiet. You do realize this could cost you your job, right? I said, my voice shaking. His eyes hardened. And it could complicate your standing in the class if you stir up unnecessary drama. The implication hit me like a slap. Was he threatening me? I left his office with my hands trembling, torn between anger and fear. When I told Sarah what he said, she exploded. Why would you confront him? Now he thinks I can't trust you, she snapped. That was it, the confirmation I needed. She wasn't on my side anymore. She had chosen him. From that point on, things only got worse. Sarah started disappearing for nights at a time, claiming she was studying with friends, but I knew exactly where she was. She stopped sitting with me in lectures and even began slipping answers during section, clearly getting inside information from him. Meanwhile, Mark's attitude toward me shifted. He graded my assignments harsher, nitpicked tiny details, and made me feel like I was walking on eggshells. I realized he wasn't just protecting himself. He was punishing me for knowing. The final straw came when Sarah accused me of being jealous. One night, after I confronted her about ditching me for him again, she snapped, "You just can't stand that someone actually wants me instead of you." The words cut so deep I couldn't breathe. She knew exactly how insecure I'd always felt compared to her, the prettier, bolder, more confident friend, and she used it like a weapon. That was when I made up my mind. If she and Mark thought I was going to stay quiet forever, they were wrong. The decision to expose them wasn't easy, but every day I stayed silent, I felt myself sinking deeper into a pit I couldn't escape. My grades were slipping, my friendship was shattered, and the betrayal ate at me like poison. I started documenting everything, screenshots of Sarah's messages, notes about the nights she disappeared, and details of how Mark treated me differently after I found out. It felt obsessive, but I knew I needed proof. The university didn't take accusations lightly, and if I came forward with nothing, it would be my word against theirs. A week later, I finally cracked. I went to the department head under the guise of asking for advice, but as soon as I sat down, all of it came pouring out, how I had seen them together, how his grading had changed, how Sarah had admitted it to me. The department head's expression went from polite concern to sharp focus. She asked me for everything I had, and when I handed over my notes and screenshots, she told me to stay quiet while they investigated. I thought I would feel relief, but instead, I felt dread. I didn't know how long the investigation would take, and in the meantime, I still had to sit in Mark's section and live with Sarah in the same room. The tension became unbearable. Sarah grew suspicious quickly. "You've been weird lately," she said one night, glaring at me. "You didn't say anything to anyone, did you?" My throat went dry, but I forced myself to shake my head. "Of course not," I lied. She studied me for a long time, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. Days later, things escalated. Mark called me into his office after class, closing the door behind me. His expression was cold. "Did you talk to anyone about Sarah and me?" he asked directly. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. "No," I whispered. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You need to understand how serious this is. If you make trouble for me, it won't end well for you." The threat was clear, but before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. The department head walked in, followed by another administrator. The look on Mark's face was priceless, caught completely off guard. "Mark," the department head said firmly, "we need to speak with you immediately." I was dismissed, and as I walked out, I caught Sarah standing down the hall. Her face went pale when she realized what was happening. That night, Sarah stormed into our dorm like a hurricane. "You ruined everything," she screamed. "Do you know what you've done to him? He could lose his position. He could get expelled from the program." Her fury was terrifying, but what scared me most was the way she looked at me, not like a best friend, not even like an enemy, but like a stranger. He used you, Sarah, I said quietly. And you let him. Her face twisted, and she spat, at least he wanted me. You'll never understand that. She slammed the door behind her, leaving me shaking and alone. For the first time since this began, I realized I hadn't just lost Sarah. I had lost the girl I thought was my sister, my other half. And I wasn't sure she had ever really been that person to begin with. The investigation dragged on for weeks, and during that time Sarah barely spoke to me except for sharp, bitter comments. She spent most nights away from the dorm, and when she did come back, she acted like a stranger occupying the same space. It was like our years of friendship had been erased overnight. Meanwhile, whispers started circulating in class. People noticed Mark's absence after he was suspended from teaching duties pending the investigation, and rumors spread quickly. Some students speculated he'd been caught cheating or stealing, others guessed it was something worse, but no one knew for sure. I stayed quiet, though every time I heard Sarah angrily defending him, I knew the truth was about to come out. Then one morning, we were both summoned to the dean's office separately. Sitting in that chair, I felt like my entire future was hanging in the balance. The dean explained that the investigation had confirmed my suspicions. Mark had been involved with Sarah, a clear violation of policy, and he had also manipulated grading records. He was being removed from the program entirely. Sarah was also reprimanded for her role, though she wouldn't face academic consequences. When I left the office, I expected to feel triumphant, like justice had been served, but instead all I felt was hollow. That evening, Sarah confronted me one last time. Her face was red from crying, and her voice cracked when she said, "I hope you're happy. You destroyed him. You destroyed me." I shook my head. "He destroyed himself, Sarah. And you chose him over me. That wasn't my doing." She didn't reply, just grabbed a bag and left the dorm for good. I never saw her again. Months passed, and slowly, the storm settled. I rebuilt my grades, made new friends, and even found myself laughing again, but the scar of what happened never fully healed. Losing Sarah hurt more than anything Mark had done, because betrayal from a stranger fades, but betrayal from your best friend lingers like a ghost. Sometimes, when I walk past the old dorm, I think about the girl who was once my sister in everything but blood, and I wonder if she ever regrets what she did. But then I remind myself that her choices revealed who she truly was. And as painful as it was, I'm better off knowing the truth than living in a friendship built on lies.